you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Aloha, everybody. This is Harold Green of Brightree Financial. How's everybody doing today? It is time to stop doing what you hate. It's been a very interesting week here for me in Hawaii. Things are slowly getting back to normal, and I actually had the opportunity to go out and have lunch. I think it was about 2 Sundays ago with my wife at a restaurant that we used to visit a long time ago when we worked together in the office. It was nice, refreshing to kind of get out and just kind of enjoy slowly getting back to normal. On today's show, title is Slaying Financial Giants, and I want to get into some things that may be holding you back from achieving all that you want and all that you desire. For me, it started a long time ago when I was working for a company and my wife and I wanted to buy our first place. And we put down a deposit, and we went home, we thought about it, we prayed about it, and what I came to realize was, my current job, although I was doing okay, it wasn't cutting the mustard. It was one of my dream jobs, to be honest with you, but the problem is my dream job that I had at the time was holding me back because, things change in life. And if you don't upgrade your thoughts and you don't upgrade your goals and you don't upgrade your dreams, you could actually end up being left behind. So we're going to talk about some financial giants. And I'm also going to kind of get into the Rapid Retire program and then talk to you a little bit about how the financial giants kind of tie into that. So you guys ready? 1, 2, 3, let's get it. All right. So one of the financial giants that I faced for many, many years was this. Like I said, I was at my dream job. I was working super hard. I was getting promoted. I was getting pay raises. I was doing everything that I could do. But to be honest with you, I was making very, very, very nominal incremental progress. It was very slow. And at the time, I just felt that, I think working hard and getting nowhere. That's financial giant number one. Working hard and getting nowhere. And one of the things I see out there in the country is there's a lot of people out there who want to prosper. There's a lot of people out there who want to do well, but the positions that they are in, although they're giving it everything they got, it's just not cutting the mustard. And there could be a lot of things holding them to that job. It could be, it's like I said, it's their dream job and, they love where they're at, but it's just not cutting it. And they have soul ties, and soul ties are things that, emotionally keeps us tied to where we're at. And they kind of refuse to let us go to the level that we want to get to. And so one of the things we're going to have to wake up and realize is the things that we're doing, the hard work that we're putting in, are we putting our resources into a bag with a hole in it, or are we using a teaspoon to put water on a raging fire? We have to kind of take a look at that and see what it is that we are doing. And so one of the things that I did years ago was I created the Rapid Retire program, and you guys kind of heard me talk about the Rapid Retire program. And I'm going to kind of sidestep here a little bit and talk about why I created that program. One of the things that I see is I see people that are working really hard in their jobs, but yet they're not prepared, to retire, or they're working really hard in their jobs and they're not making the progress that they need to make. I also see a couple of different things happening between the older generation and the younger generation. So the younger generation, they're pretty tech savvy and they don't cost a lot of money. The older generation, they're not that tech savvy, and sometimes they tend to be hard to train, and the companies are paying them a lot of money. And through this whole coronavirus pandemic, I've seen companies lay people off. I've seen companies tell people they're not coming back to their jobs. A lot of corporations are top heavy, and they're using this as a golden opportunity to their advantage, or, that some may say, to kind of move on from these older employees. And so what I want to talk to you about is if you're in between the ages of 50 and 60 years old, what I really want to do is I want to sit down with you and look at what you're doing and then figure out how to take advantage of some of the opportunities that you may have that you clearly can't see or you're clearly not prepared for. And one of the worst things I've seen is I've seen people get laid off from their jobs and they totally were blindsided. They're totally not expecting it. And a lot of times people are sending their first or second kid off to college when these things happen, and they're just simply not ready for it. And so if you're between the age of 50 and 60 and you're kind of maybe senior management, you've kind of climbed the pole, climbed the ladder, and you're up there towards the top, I really want to caution you and let you know that we need to sit down and talk and make sure that you're prepared to walk away from that job, by the time you're, I would say, in the next 7 to 10 years, if not sooner. Even worse, I want to make sure you're ready so that if your company came down and they said, hey, look, we're going to be laying off people and your name came up and we're going to move on. And so you really want to be prepared so that if that does happen to you, you can comfortably move on to the next phase of your life. So if you haven't already done so, please go to the website, retirenowretirewell.com, and check out the Rapid Retire program. Click on that page. And then at the bottom, there's that game changer form so that you can fill that out, or just give me a call, 808-521-4401. So back into the show, working hard and getting nowhere is financial giant number one. Number two, I hear this one a lot. And, people say, Harold, if I could only get a shot, if somebody would just open the door, if somebody would just give me that opportunity. And it's giant number two, lack of opportunity. And something happened to me years ago when I was working in a corporation, and my job was titled Policy Review Specialist. And so it was more so customer service and conservation. So I was more of a conservation agent. And I would look through hundreds and hundreds of life insurance policies. And my job would be to call up the client and policyholder and then go out and sit down with them and then go over their policy and make sure that we could keep that policy in place. I also got paid for discovering new opportunities to do additional business with that client. And I did really well. I became number two in the United States in terms of sales and new business for that life insurance company. And I thought I was well on my way. And again, it kind of segues back into, that situation where, we went to put that deposit on the place and realized that although I was doing great and I was getting all of the notoriety and all the fame, the money just was not there. And so I began to think, and one day I was on my way to visit a client. He was an eye doctor, ophthalmologist. And I was driving this old, car. It ran good and everything, but, oxidation, the paint was just coming off everywhere. And quite frankly, I was working hard, getting nowhere because the proof definitely was not in the pudding. So I went in and I met with the doctor and we talked a little bit, and his attitude was kind of like, yeah, I got money, what are you here for? What do you want from me? And I'm not going to buy anything new from you, and on and on and on. And I got back in my car and all these things going through my head, and I just told God, I said, look, I'm working really hard here, and if I could, this is what I would like to see happen in my life. But I just can't find any companies or any opportunities. And he spoke very clearly to me. He said, you know what, if what you want does not exist, you have to create it. I'm going to say that again. If what you want does not exist, you have to create it. And so I took that to heart and started doing research and things of that nature, writing down different opportunities I thought I could take advantage of. And then next thing you know, an opportunity came my way for me to start my own company. And the next thing you know, one thing led to the other. And here we are today in Bright Tree Financial Group. And so there are things that you can do. And I would encourage you that if you're listening and you want more out of life, I want you to sit down and I want you to begin just to kind of write out different opportunities that you have. And sometimes it's not about creating a new job or creating a new business or anything like that. It could just be something that you have in your possession that you can use a little bit better and create opportunities for yourself. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the third financial giant, and it is the lack of energy. And a lot of times in life, we're super busy, we're running around, and we have all these different things going on, and it just saps our energy. And one of the things that can sap our energy is negativity. I call it the brain drain. And we're focusing on all these different things. Sometimes we're wrapped up in the things that we can't do anything about. And we're just wasting our time and energy instead of refocusing, repurposing, retooling to take advantage of some things that could be coming our way. And one of the things I see people getting caught up on right now is the racial tensions that are flaring up in our country. And, for me, I thought about speaking out on this stuff because I am an African American, but I just kind of felt like I should lead by example and keep my mouth shut and not kind of start spewing my personal opinion and different things like that. But just to be the example that people can look to. And I just think leading by example is the best way to go. And to be honest with you, it's given me quite a bit of opportunity to share with people. People are more open to me now. They're more receptive to the things I have to say. And, they want to hear my perspective. And I think in order to do them service, I just can't come off crazy, to be honest with you. I can't come off saying things that aren't really true. And I just can't come off spewing negativity and so on and so forth. I have to use wisdom and, be able to encourage them and, towards the right direction. But I was kind of like getting all kind of wrapped up in it a little bit. But I said, you know what? This is not your fight. Your fight is somewhere else. You have to use your gifts and your abilities and your talents in a different area and just be the example. So lack of energy is number 3. Don't get tied up emotionally in things that you have no control over. Now, the 4th giant is a very, very, very important one. And if you follow sports, you know that it takes a team to win. And you got to have good players at all positions in order to win the championship. You just can't have one good quarterback and then a couple of good receivers and your defense is not good. You have to make sure you have all the right people in the right positions on your team. So financial giant number 4 is you may have the wrong people on your team and they could be holding you back because of how they think and because of what they want to accomplish. And sometimes you have people on your team that have competing agendas. And so I want you to kind of sit down, look at who's on your team, look at your financial advisor if you have one, look at your CPA if you have one, look at your attorney if you have one, look at the people that are on your team. One of the first things I do when people come in and sit down with me is I say, who are you working with? Who's your CPA? Who's your attorney? Who's giving you financial advice? And sometimes I'll find that they're not talking to anyone about their finances. And although people say that they aren't talking to anyone about their finances, trust me, people are getting advice from all over the place. It could be a cousin, an auntie. It's just not, they're not doing it in a professional setting. In other words, they haven't actually sat down and hired a financial advisor to help them. And I want to know who the professionals are so that if I'm going to become a part of the team, I need to understand how these people think. I need to understand what their objectives are for you as the client. And if you sit there and you share things with me and I look and I see what you've been doing and they don't line up, I'm going to say, who told you to do that and why? Well, so-and-so said to do that. And I said, well, why did they tell you that? Well, I don't know. They're the professionals. So I just follow what they say. I said, well, we're going to have to take a look at that. And I'm going to have to contact your CPA or your tax attorney and let them know that what you've been doing is not in your best interest. And maybe I have to educate them. And so being on a team, we have to put our egos aside because it's for the greater good. And if you don't have anyone that you're working with right now, I definitely want to sit down and talk to you and see who's on your team and figure out, all right, apparently you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Maybe you are accomplishing a little bit, but there's far greater that you could do. And it kind of goes back to the rapid retire. And maybe you're doing well in your job. Maybe you're making quite a bit of money. That's great. Nothing lasts forever. So we're going to have to prepare you to transition on to the next phase of your life. And that's something I want people to think about. I was sharing with my wife the other day some strategies that I'm looking at implementing in the company. And I said, honey, I need to continue to look forward because if I sit where I am right now, things are going to change. And so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but at the same time, I don't want to get caught off guard. So I'm always thinking and thinking and thinking, what's next, what's next, what's next? Not to the point where I'm worrying myself to death, but I'm being proactive is what that is called. So you definitely want to look at who's on your team and then from there figure out who to get, how to get the right people in your team. That's very important. Number 5, and I think this is one of the biggest ones, it's lack of vision, and it's one of the largest giants and enemies to your success is a lack of vision and what it is that you want to accomplish in your life. One of the things I love sitting down and doing when I do get the opportunity is just kind of looking out there and looking at the kind of impact that I want to have on the world. And the reason why I do that is because when I don't look at the impact that I can have on the world, when I don't look at the impact that I could have in my community in terms of like what my passions are, and that's seeing people prosper financially, seeing them get their kids through college, seeing them do all of that without stressing and worrying about money, and seeing them be able to set up giving mechanisms and, taking advantage of the wealth that they do have. That really touches my heart because I'm a part of something bigger than myself. I may not have the millions and millions and millions to donate, but there's some who do have that, and they need the right people on their team to help them do that. But it's going to start with a vision, because if you don't have a vision, no matter who you bring on your team, it's going to crumble because you have different competing ideas and different competing visions. And so I want you to sit down and look at the vision that you have for your life, number one, the vision that you have for your marriage, number two, the vision that you have for your kids if you have young kids, the vision that you have for impacting your community. And maybe that's not your area. Maybe sit down and look at the vision that you have for the company that you work in. And if you're not high level up there, maybe sit down and look at what you can do on the level that you are. So having a vision is very, very, very important. And if you don't have one, please sit down and figure out how to put together the proper vision. So I just wanted to share a little bit with you guys today in regards to slaying the financial giants. And some future shows or in some upcoming shows, I'm going to get into the Rapid Retire program a little bit more and talk about some of the things that you can do right now during this time to take advantage of what's happening in the economy in order to better prepare yourself for the future. So again, thank you very much for listening in. And until next time, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.